Uranium, that is probably a wise choice. Taking a breather is definitely not a bad idea in the world. You have been hanging out for a very long time, and I appreciate that greatly. We are doing a good ass job today. We are mighty. Shift 9. I can't believe we are still at this. All right. Stream is up. Pulling up the YouTubes. Fantastic. We are currently on the YouTubes. I am planting the donation link. I am planting it here. I am planting it on Twitter. Here's the new stream. Come and join us for Shift 9 has just begun. 2/3 of 24 hours down. Tweet. Save. Go. Headphones. We in this mess. Welcome to Shift 9 of the Site-42 24-hour charity live stream for the San Francisco LGBT Center. We are crushing this. We have raised over $300. We have read so many SCPs, probably 300 SCPs. Probably not.
$1.
Oh, yeah. More bang for your buck. And now, where do we go from here?
Excellent question. There was a tale I was wanting you to read. I can probably link it.
Yeah, make it happen.
Went ahead and threw it in to get vocal over here. It's sort of it's a tale that's basically a one-person monologue, so I think it'd be a good fit.
All right. Tyrone joins me. I did see that earlier. Joins the family SCP. All right. Running. All right, Tyrone joins the family. Let's hit this. Ooh, the first letter is capital letter. I'm going to peek at that. Who is that? From another tale. Okay. I knew by then, to not trust one of the doctors was smiling. The ones who looked at you like you were lower than shit were better. At least they didn't notice you. Some guys really liked having a whole cast of people they were allowed to brutalize in the name of science and protecting the world. Go figure. Are you Catholic? Was his first question. I should have known. I should have known that there was no way. I should have known that this was going to be a weird thing. But D class don't get to say no. We don't really get to. I wish we could. You say no, and you're just going with a collar that makes your head explode or something. And he was one of those he was one of the real smiley types, wasn't he? Dr. Cartwright. That was it. Close cropped, brown hair, horn rimmed glasses like some 1950 dad or something. No. Well, that's not going to be a problem. He leaned forward. We'll need to get you a haircut. Maybe get you fitted for a tuxedo. Have you ever been to a wedding before? A funeral? A baptism? He shook his head. Doesn't matter. And he stood up. What? Was all I could say. But Dr. Cartwright was the type to not really listen to that kind of thing. He didn't hear the mewling of the D class. Or maybe he didn't want to. Well, this isn't exactly normal, but nothing about this is normal. Normally, we wouldn't put, well, one of you into a delicate situation like this. But it's not exactly a glamorous job. He walked to the door, hands behind his back. I never realized how ropey Dr. Cartwright's hands were. Like worms under his fucking skin. You're going to fill in for a deceased member of an elite mobile task force before we get a proper member trained. Your job is going to weddings, baptisms, and funerals until we tell you to stop. We're directing you from site to site. If you attempt to leave or say anything to imply your position, a nerve gas agent we will soon embed in your spine will, well, I think you know the rest, right? Dude, what? Last question. Do you have any history of insectophobia? Honestly, it was better than having to tell dudes when you blink and cleaning up bloody shit. Catholic masses are long, sure, but it beat being in real present danger. Lots of sitting down, lots of standing up. I had so much communion wafers and wine that I felt like I had to be at least 65 or maybe 75% Christ in and of itself, you know? Its name was Cousin Johnny. They briefed me on what I was looking for. A middle-aged dude, kind of husky. Black beard, black hair. And he was going to probably be spitting out cicadas and talking crazy shit or something. I figured I could find that easy, you know? Not a lot of hard work to find some dude that's a bug monster or whatever, right? All I did was sit in the back and keep my eyes out. First time I saw him was a baptism. The way he spoke, it was like nothing I'd ever heard. Word salad, yeah. There was a kind of, cadence to it. And everyone just fucking, I don't know, they loved it. Obviously, this was the guy. And even if it wasn't for the cicada noise he kept making and the way his eyes just looked wrong, I could have probably picked him out of a crowd. The more I worked there, and it's funny to call it work, I guess what I should say is, grammar mistake. Hey, Rockney, you go in and edit that text so it's fixed when we're done. The more I work there, and it's funny to call it work, I guess what I should say is, when I was forced to be a guinea pig there and save some lives, hopefully, in the long run, the more I kind of got a sense for when something was wrong. And this guy just gave it off in spades. There was a kind of heat to him. After that first time I saw him, it was like he was waiting for me at every fucking church. I saw him catch the bride's garter belt, and I saw him eat it. I saw him feed a piece of his fingernail to a child who giggled and cooed. I watched him give teeth to grinning brides and grooms who crunched them between their molars until their jaws bled. And I swear to God, he never stopped smiling. The whole time, he was so happy. It wasn't intelligent, I think. They told me that. An animal that looked human. But sometimes it would catch my eye. And sometimes it would look back. And there was a cunning there. A whole lot of cunning wrapped up in something younger and fleshier. Something old. And I fucking hated it. Sometimes they told me to stop certain events. Other times they had me just watch it and keep notes. I don't know what happened to people when it didn't stop it. What happened after? A kid's face covered in blood and gore. Even if he's smiling, you just know something's wrong with him, right? Something deep in there that got snapped in two and he can't even tell. And even if he can't tell, it's there and it's broken. And I don't know if there's really a right way to get it back. Last time I went to one, Cousin Johnny appeared right next to me in the pew. 1 second he wasn't there. 1 second he was. He didn't do anything the whole mass. He stood up, sat down, in that jelly-legged way he had because he didn't have any fucking bones. But the whole time, he stared at me. He didn't breathe, but the whole time I smelled something. Something like rotten. My neck sweat. Cold. I felt my breath hitch. When the mass ended, he was gone. In his pew was a clump of hair and 2 cicada shells. I told the higher-ups. They took me off. Moved me to something easier. Can't say I wasn't happy. It was easy, sure. But I'm afraid if I came back, he'd sit next to me again. Shit. That's never good, right? So, reason I'm telling you all this. Yeah, I'm getting there. Right now, in fact, I'm not trying to waste your time. I know you guys are busy. So you guys set me up at Spicy Crust Pizzeria, you know? Nice job. Cushy. For what kind of things I can expect in my life. But yesterday, this guy came in. And I gotta tell you, he looked just like that cousin Johnny Insect guy. Maybe a little grayer. A little older. Nearly shock white hair, actually. Maybe he gained some weight, I don't know. But I could tell it was the same guy. When he came to the counter, I just stared. He must have gone on for a while, because he finally spoke. Normal voice. Normal guy. All he said was, "Do I look like someone you know?" You know, I say, "Nah, sorry, goose stepped over my grave," like my grandma used to say or something. He's here to pick up an order. 3 pizzas, all meats on both. Mediums. I got a good memory for orders, you know. But that's beside the point. I make a joke, you know, I'm shaky. So I try to make things comfortable. I say, like, "Hey, where's the party? Maybe I'll come down after work." This guy just smiles at me. And he says, "I'm going to visit my father or my mother. I'm not sure who'll be there. You're welcome to come." Which was weird enough, right? But when he said it, I swear to God, his mouth was full of cicadas. Live, crawling all over each other, cracking from their shells. But then, it was gone. And he paid, and then he left. I wouldn't even be telling you about this, but shit. When I woke up this morning, I found 12 cicada shells on my kitchen table. I don't know how they got there. I don't want to know. I just thought you guys should know.
Awesome. So I can't edit that page to fix that that little mistake. It's locked.
No! Why? Why, God? Why do you?
So it's
why do you
just
test
gonna
me?
have to stay like that.
Curses and dread. Curses and dread. Okay, well, we'll leave it, and I'll just cry in my sleep. Fine. All right. Let me check the YouTube chat. We're looking a little quiet in there. Let me check. Get vocal chat. We're looking a little quiet here. This is the end of work shift. It's going to be a quiet moment. Calm in the storm. Oh, did I have cicadas in my mouth that whole story? Was my connection all fuzzy? Man. Curses and drat. The storm. The storm doesn't. The storm never changes.
Storms never change.
All right. I've got a list of stories to pull from if we don't have ideas. One of which was called out from the SCPD group. And so it was this one. No, don't do that. Stop it. iPad, don't do that. Copy link. It is SCP 4175, friends made, and now it's gone. Darn.
Friends made in the void.
This one got brought up when I was looking for articles. You mind taking this one while I take a short hiatus?
Sure, can do. It looks like there's a interview in the middle, so
I will probably be back for that. Oh wait, we already did this one. This is Alex Conrad, Site-42. This is the Ghost Girl.
Huh.
Or Ghost Boy. Ghost Boy. Okay. We did this one. Looping around. Oh, it was the other one that has a void. Because that one's not a void, it's Lloyd. I mistook the void for Lloyd. This one
Researcher
is
Lloyd? Destroy a word?
this is a tale called Error Field Cannot Be Lloyd.
Oh, that I know who wrote that. Yeah,
I
that's
don't know this one.
yeah, that was written. Actually, I think that was written for last Halloween.
Yeah, it's got the Halloween spooky on it.
Yeah, I could take this one.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. Knock it out.
Sure. Field cannot be Lloyd. You're roused from dreamless sleep. Transient wisps of candy apples, pumpkin spice, candy floss, and other sugary sweet scents waft their way into your padded cell. The muffled echoes of distant music carned on vodka-infused air seep through the thin cracks in the bunker's concrete, staining the air. Your joints throb and ache from being motionless for so long. Your mind feels as atrophied as your muscles, wasted away from being tied to the concrete set chair. The restraints aren't tight, but the scars still itch from where you desperately struggled against the leather, burning it into your skin. It's a reminder that you're a different person now. Man, Samuel really knows how to throw a party. Despite the cruel headgear designed to bind your ears closed and blind your eyes, some noise worms its way through. Voices. Hell yeah, Lloyd. Did you see Sammy chug down like 7 pints? Hold on, I'll get the door. So long without sound has left your ears trained to hear a pin fall, so the scraping sound of rusted metal on metal is torture. You feel a warm light fall on the cloth before your eyes and instinctively begin to pull against your restraints like a dog seeing his master. Is someone there? You speak with trepidation, knowing that hearing voices isn't a good sign. Nobody has spoken to you in months. Why would they be starting now? Oh damn, look at him! Must be pretty nasty foundation to keep him in this state. Yeah, man. I know one of us got concreted up to the waist just to stop him from running. You made that up. Come on, let's get him out of that chair. With the clicks of locks and the loosening of his restraints, you feel a weight from your shoulders removed. Your eyes are overwhelmed by the sudden plunge from pleasant and familiar darkness and into the light. Sound meets your eyes in its full cacophonous beauty for the first time. The blurriness of unused eyes takes a second to focus on the two silhouettes. You rub your eyes in disbelief, but no matter how hard you try, reality doesn't change. Two identical versions of yourself stand before you. One dons an astronaut costume, holding the helmet under his arm, while the other wears cardboard sheets wrapped up in tinfoil in vague resemblance of a robot. Hey, you look somewhat familiar and good, said the robot version of yourself before being cut off by a quick strike to the head by the astronaut. Cut it out! You do that bit every time. It was funny exactly once. Astro Lloyd turns up to you. We brought something more comfortable for you to slip into. Roboloid presents a few costume sets. There are crumbled, slightly torn, and dusty, yet somehow they make you feel nostalgic. In a time not so long ago, you'd be outside in the cold October air knocking on doors, begging for candy. Dude, you need to think about what you're going to say before you say it. You stare at the two ridiculous versions of yourself. So many competing questions race to your lips, but you stamp them down and ask the most pressing one. Why are you here? We're here to get you out of this crummy old cell. Man, put up a poster or something. This place is the most miserable one yet, said Roboloid. You've done this before? You ask. If you mean breaking a Lloyd out of prison, sure. We haven't done exactly this before, so you can count yourself special. We're like wanderers, said Astroloid. Yeah, confirmed Roboloid. And now it's your turn to join the club. No, I'm not leaving, you assert. You know what happens when we die, right? It's best for everyone if I just stay here. Right, so we've got Mike Myers, IT, or Skeleton for you. Are you guys even listening? Are you even listening to me? I'm not leaving. Ah, I remember when I was your age, began Astroloid with a condescending tone, placing a hand on your shoulder. You're gonna die sometime, Lloyd, but you should have some good times before you go. Come on, pop on a costume. You never know, you might have fun. You look at the costumes presented. Maybe it was the smell of dusty fabric or the faint smell of candy from the nearby party, but a melancholy tugs at your heart. They remind you of a simpler time, full of high spirits and juvenile happiness. You push down that feeling and glide your fingers over your scars. It's for the best you stay here, for everyone's sake. Lloyd, you only live once. You should live every day like it's your last, right? Said Robo Lloyd. Your copies are risking everyone on the planet just by being here. But the way they carry themselves, the energy behind their eyes, their slight smiles, you thought it wasn't possible to see yourself smiling with the burden you bear. Yet the man you want to be stands before you, offering his hand. Maybe they know something you don't. Fine, I'll leave here for just tonight. But then you take me back here. And I want the Mike Myers costume. As you and your companions make your way through the belly of the beast, you notice small token decorations littering the walls. Bats, ghosts, cobwebs. The distant melodies grow louder with each passing step. Outside of the noises of distant partying, your footsteps echo out through dead hallways. Documents litter the floor. Computers remain mid-session. Urgent news. Just now. Dangerous solar event occurring. Origin unknown. Countries exposed to sunlight offline. Seek shelter. Global news. Yesterday. Researchers report extreme floral growth. Click here to read more. Where's everyone gone to? You ask. They're outside, replied Astroloid bluntly. Why? Astroloid looked to Roboloid with a concerned expression. Roboloid shook his head. He'll see for himself later. You changed the topic. So why are you here again? You used to work at the Foundation, Lloyd. You know how sometimes the world just ends? Well, we got a message that we should all come here. So you can stop the end of the world scenario, right? Something like that. The robot and the astronaut escort you the rest of the way in silence. The music grows louder and louder before you're met with loud cheering. You see multiple figures, all exceptionally similar to yourself, celebrating your arrival. They push alcohol into your hands and chant slurred words that you barely understand. You receive pats on the back. People laugh at you. You find yourself laughing back. The next few hours were a blur. You're sat back against the wall, fueled with cheap vodka and rambling to another version of yourself. I just feel that, I just want to disappear. I don't want to hurt anyone by dying, but I don't want to suffer anymore. Does that make sense? We feel you, dude. We all do. Come on, I think it's time you went outside with us. Everyone hear that? It's time to head out, guys. You walk alongside dozens of iterations of yourself. They push you to the forefront of your group like a sacrificial lamb to the slaughter. They lead you out of the home you've known for many years now, moved past grayscale landscapes bespeckled with flowers. You pass people sleeping outdoors, children in costumes and adults in suits alike. It's like all the people on Earth had decided to camp outdoors in the strangely warm and electrified air. Those awake talk with a blissful and ethereal tone. They speak of rapture, contentedness, and the beauty of the world. One of the denizens shouts, almost screams at you, "It's all going to be over soon!" You're guided to a football stadium, blindingly illuminated by intense floodlights. The grounds are infested with versions of yourself. Some lie on the grass, staring at the black void above the stadium. Some huddle fetally and cry. Some commit acts of violence on each other. You wade through the empty bottles, cigarettes, and needles that are strewn throughout the grounds. You're overwhelmed by the sheer panic and anarchy. You know that this is not normal behavior for yourself. In fact, you'd never begin to imagine yourself anywhere near this state. What's going on? You ask the nearest Lloyd. You said it yourself. We want to disappear without dying. We want to be happy. The Foundation told us this is our chance. We're going to do it. Look, responds Lloyd, pointing to the sky shimmering with regal red and golden rays. It's all about to happen. You push past your clones, running from the crazed versions of yourself and back to what is familiar. You sprint away from the stadium, the gray landscapes, and the rapturous freaks. You take shelter in your cell and comfort in the darkness. With the sound of rusted metal on metal, the door locks behind you, shielding your unwilling self from discovering the horrors that your clones and the denizens of the world knew would come. On Hallows Eve, the moon did set, returned back to the void. The sun's rise brought a brand new day, and none remained but Lloyd. That was Airfield Cannot Be Lloyd. It's good stuff.
That was something, all right.
I don't know. I don't remember how well this did in last Halloween's contest, but it certainly did.
So, how many apocalypses are mentioned here?
I think it's just. I think it's 3 because there's researcher Lloyd's death. There's Lily's proposal, and then there's When Day Breaks. At least I think Lily's proposal makes an appearance.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah, Lily's proposal is linked somewhere in the middle, and then When Day Breaks is linked in the image caption. So total of 3.
Yeehaw. That was a weird one. Let's get my list back out. With the Airfield Cannot Be Lloyd. Got it. We already read the Pumpkin Man earlier. Apparently there's a Potato Girl.
A Potato Girl?
Yeah, the tail is just potato-girl. That is another Halloween tale.
There's one Potato Girl that I'm aware of, and it's A Potato Thirst. 4420. That's probably not what this is.
If it turns out to be a tale about that, though, I will laugh.
I don't think there's any tales about that. There should be. It's a good article. Although I don't know what it would be. Some people are more imaginative than I am.
Not Potato Tail, Sherman. Potato Girl. Type it right. Potato Girl.
What? Potato Girl.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I see.
This one isn't forever. All right, I'll take it from the top. October 31st, 7:25 p.m. Despite the reassurance it gave Heather that her mothers were okay with her spending the night without them, she still wasn't prepared for how exhausting it would be. Forget introducing herself to nearly every parent who asked who she was. I moved in not too long ago was believable enough. Meeting up with her first new real-life friend in a lifetime felt like a whole other challenge. There weren't any issues between her and Willow. They spoke quite a bit online, and Heather was the one to suggest they meet in the first place, given how close they lived to each other. It was her first night out of the house since earlier that year was spent with someone with all. It was that her first night out of the house since earlier that year was spent with someone else at all. The one thought plaguing Heather's mind was whether Willow would know that she was actually an anomaly. Thankfully, her costume didn't come off as cheap or suspicious, so Willow never thought to check. She was unexpectedly receptive to the partially true excuse that Heather didn't want to take off her TV due to anxiety and worry. It was a relief to completely avoid the subject. Willow's voice was still crystal clear in her memory. Even in person, you're fun to hang out with. Even in person, she's fun to hang out with. Even in person, she's fun. It bounced around in her head again and again. She's fun. It was almost impossible to believe. Was it okay that this was going so well? Did it matter? Of course that was a good thing to be told. But the worry for what her new dear friend could have otherwise meant plagued her. I gotta stop overthinking it. I'm sure she meant what she said. Conveniently, they split up for a brief moment to take care of personal errands. They'd meet up soon at Maria's, the local convenience store, where she needed to head anyway to pick up stuff for her mom's. She could freely talk to herself, at least if no one else was around. It was right when she realized that she suddenly thought of Willow as dear that her phone buzzed. A text message from Dahlia. After you're done with Halloween, please remember to pick up some tater. Tater? What could she meant by that? Potatoes, right? Did they sell potatoes at the convenience store? How many should she get? Maybe she should ask. What if she actually meant water? Didn't they already have water at home? Actually, was it even possible to carry enough water by yourself all the way home? It'd be too much of a burden to ask Willow. She really should ask. The sound of puppies yipping behind a fence froze Heather in place. It was bad enough to hear them nearby, but it was doubly concerning when she wasn't able to see them. Personal experience taught her that suddenly running would result in being chased, while slowly walking forward would be her best bet. So why couldn't she move? The store wasn't too far away. In an instant, the house across the street suddenly filled up with light and the undecipherable chatter of a horde of partygoers. The dogs decided to join in with a choir of yelps and barks, and the collective noise nearly engulfed her altogether. Heather squealed out as she tried to keep from yelling, bolting away from the scene as best she could. 7:36 p.m. Will do. I guess they do sell potatoes after all. The grocery ambiguity was cleared up, and the only remaining question was how many she needed to buy. One for each of them, of course, but a fourth wouldn't hurt. There was more than enough money for that, and she could even pick up something for herself as well. It didn't occur to her that they came in bags and that she couldn't pick up a specific number of potatoes until she went inside Maria's to check what they had. They were 2-pound bags, 3-pound, and so on, with different types, and it all slid off of her. Maybe she really should have asked how much to get, but it might be too bothersome if she sent a follow-up text. The cashier might help. Heather walked over to the counter, inwardly screaming out to whatever spirits were there that the older-looking lady manning the night shift wouldn't ask too many questions. Grown-ups don't just take off costumes from people trick-or-treating after all, unfortunately. Hello, ma'am. May I help you with anything tonight? She couldn't get in the first word. Hi. I was wondering about the potatoes. Can I buy them individually? Any remote attempt at a calmer facade completely vanished with that, so all she could do was hope that it'd go by quickly. We do not, only the bag. How many were you looking to buy? 4. Do you know what kind? She could only stare at the shelf of candy, unable to remember what type she had even seen before going for help. Even the dogs were less intimidating. Maybe going out in public was a bad idea after all. After 4 seconds, stretched into years, the older lady giggled. That's no big deal, miss. I'm only familiar with red ones myself. Do you know what your taste preferences are? Did they all taste different? But cheap. But he giggled again, and she felt like a crater in the ground. All right, then, let me grab our cheapest kind for you. She came out behind the counter and went to the aisles. Now that and rushed home. It was amazing that she came off as fun somehow when she was able to act like this. Her was commendable, but this was as best as she could do. By the way, the woman called out as she walked back with what sounded like a light bag. Heather instinctively looked up. Huh? As Martha began to speak, Heather felt regret smash into her chest. Is it all right to take off your TV helmet? You look exhausted in that. No, Miss Martha, I'm good, I promise, she replied, too quickly. you sure? Just because it's chilly out doesn't mean that thing can't overheat you. Besides, if Heather grabbed a random chocolate bar, and before she realized it, she shoved it to Martha. She felt finished. Um, really, dear, it's fine. It's nothing to worry about. She scanned the items, continuing to smile. Even if it was fake, it was barely enough free from the situation. Now then, as if on cue, Willow entered the store, waving at the two of them. Heather! Her voice was the same, but it felt more mature, if forced, than earlier. While strange, it was undeniably her. Don't worry, I'll cover it, she said. She had set her free from this hell, and that's all that mattered. There was nothing that Heather felt she could say in response to that, so she stepped back to head outside, relief carefully balanced out by guilt. It took a couple of minutes before Willow stepped out, bag in tow. It took a little time for Martha to get the reason for her head to stay on. Thankfully, the excuse was convenient enough for even her to understand. Hopefully, this means the end of it. Her dear friend waved at her again. Oh, Willow, thank you so much. Of course, no problem at all. Would you mind if we tried trick-or-treating at one or two more houses before we finish for the night? I don't have to be picked up for a little bit more. Oh, sure, I don't mind. So much for a plan to go home, but maybe it would be bad to spend a little more time outside, especially with a caring friend. Thank you. Let's walk back to your neighborhood. Here's your stuff. She handed the potatoes and chocolate to Heather and dumped the change into her candy bag. Willow's personality softened, and her presence more reserved. It felt more natural, close to how it was early in the day. Not having candy for dinner tonight? Not really, no. My mom asked me to buy these anyhow. Heather looked at the bag, too exhausted to actually parse what type these were. Opening the bag didn't help either. She'd figure it out later. I'm sorry for making you pay. I had money on me, so I can pay you back if you want. You don't need to pay me back, Willow said. Just as long as I can have your chocolate instead. Sure, feel free. Willow beamed, bumping into Heather to grab the chocolate before immediately opening the wrapper and biting right into the bar. Tonight really was better than she'd ever expected it to be. Neither of them noticed that in the collision, one of the 4 potatoes fell out of the bag and onto the road, nor did they notice the puppies that ran over to the fallen potato. 7:44 p.m. Trick or treat! The two had arrived at their final house of the night. The decorations were far more minimal and subdued than the other homes they visited. As the door opened, however, they could see the inside was adorned with an egregious amount of Halloween displays and props from the outside. Then the outside. Happy Halloween! The old man who opened the door smiled, handing Willow a good chunk. I hope you kids are having a fine night. Yes, we are, they both replied. May I ask what your costumes are? Audrey Horn, Willow exclaimed proudly. A robot named Cat Am. Why are there only a couple skeletons out here? Heather questioned nervously. Ah, yes, I needed to decorate the house. There just wasn't enough for the outside when I hung everything up. Neither were sure on what to say. It was the exact opposite of what people typically have problems with for the holiday. Those red potatoes you have. Oh, yes. Ah, wonderful choice. I was thinking of having some around this time of year, but I haven't found the time to head to the store lately. Say, would you mind if I had one? Huh? Heather felt sure she missed the conversation taking a turn at some point. She decided to look in the bag of potatoes for help, only to find 3 instead of 4. While she was better equipped to handle this mishap, it still felt fatiguing to deal with. Did you see how many potatoes were in here? I'm trying to figure out who's talking for this voice. That would be, yeah, okay, Heather first. Did you see how many potatoes were in here? I'm pretty sure there were just 4. Is one missing? Yeah, I think so. Would either of you girls care for more candy in exchange for 1 potato? Our block didn't have as many kids this year, but my house got even less than usual. Maybe because I didn't have as many decorations outside this year. If Heather had a knife, she'd be able to cut through how fantastical her night was. What better to top it off than this? This was all she was able to do to reframe the situation to something she could better cope with. It was fortunate that she didn't need to get many potatoes in the first place anyhow. What would be the harm in doing this man one as well? Just like resource management. Here you go, mister. She handed one of her 3 potatoes to the man, who smiled. Thank you very much, Miss Television. You know, my son-in-law loves red potatoes almost as much as I do. Does he now? Willow said in confusion. His dogs especially love playing with them. It's an unbelievable sight. They're only a year or so old, and they still bat them around like toys. He has to buy them at the store more than most people would because of that. The air hung in awkward silence as an ellipses blinked on her monitor. 8:29 p.m. I am home, Heather called out. Hi, sweetie, be right there, making soup for Mommy, Dahlia replied. It felt right to be back after a roller coaster of a day, and she could take pride in all she accomplished. She'd impress her moms and hopefully even her friends as well. Progress was incremental, after all. Her shoes flew off as she ran to hug her mom. She found Dahlia in the kitchen over the stove, the smell of soup draping the room. Immediately, she locked onto her TV. TV nuzzling her head. Welcome home. How was your day, hon? I survived. My friend Willow was super nice, and no one took my head off. Plus, she said as she held out the bag of potatoes, I bought what you asked for. I needed help, but I did it. Nice. Thank you very much for... As Dahlia looked at the bag, her words came to a halt and a mild look of confusion took hold on her face. Mags? Yeah? Dahlia took out and placed 2 potatoes by the sink. This isn't Gatorade. What?
Okay, this makes sense now. I saw the JamCon 2019 tag. I was like, "What was this entered for?" And the first theme was Shaggy Dog, so it's meant to have kind of a anti-joke punchline, or rather, it's supposed to wind up to this. God, that's good.
I don't want to ask you
How
to
does a
explain
phone autocorrect? How does autocorrect switch tater to Gatorade to tater? Oh wait, no, that makes sense now that I said it out loud.
I said all those things. I said all these things. And this is what you give me. And this is what you give me. Son of a bitch. That was fun voicing, though. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. That was very good.
Oh. I'm going to go get my not sponsored caffeinated energy drink after that. I'll be back in 5 seconds while I consider what I'm going to read after that. What are we going to do, Rock Teeth? What are we going to do with our lives? This is where we are. This is what we do with our time.
Hi, Gavir.
I am back.
Gavir's back.
That sounds very celebratory. He sounds like the mind of a broken man.
He's been up for a while. He's getting his non-sponsored energy drink, as he said.
All right.
Track him.
I'm gonna get some of my various pages set up for
hello.
if we wanted to jump
Hello.
into something we didn't know what we wanted to do.
I think we're just in the interim right now.
What are you gonna do with your life? What was just read?
Oh, Potato Girl was just read by Decibels.
Oh,
It's good.
It sounds like Mr. Wondertainment was involved in something like that. Silly.
It's
It's actually Gamers Against Weed.
Hmm.
Actually, it's a Misters Against. So yeah, it's it's gamers infringing upon Wondertainment's intellectual property.
Yeah, it's SCP-3090. Mad About Video Games by Gamers Against Weed. And so,
So kind of right.
3090 tale, 3090 tale. Someone tell Jesse that we read their tale. Okay, that was a ride. Let's go look for a new story.
Your audio is far off from your voice, but that's okay. Like
Is
from
the
your
quality
video.
still good, or
I'm hearing
Quality's
you.
a bit crackly.
It's a little crackly. I'm hearing you before your webcam shows me what's going on.
You're
so
out
it's
of
just a little-
sync.
Yeah, it's out of sync.
we're having a bit of a laggy moment here? That's okay.
I'm hearing you in real time, and that's what's important.
That's what's important. How about one of you two guys reads? We're gonna really like this one, I think. It's called "Overthinking the Rainbow."
Ooh, that's
Sounds
a
like
fun
someone
one.
already knows-
I
someone
just
already knows
skimmed it.
apparently.
I just skimmed it, and I saw things that made me look like I'm gonna like this.
Yeah, this one came out last year over the whole June drama thing. Or was it July? Whatever. It's just me, or is the logo overall broken? Hold on.
Logo overall broken?
I know that there's some there's a few articles that have special CSS for the SCP logo, and it's not showing up for me on my end. I'm wondering if it's just me.
Well, no, I'm not getting it either, but I'm like 90% sure based on what you said about this article and what I just skimmed, that it might be that they said, fuck it, we're not putting a logo because you're all being dicks.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's my first thought.
We have an intendant. I saw LE3 show up for a split second, probably trying to
Oh,
make
LE3.
sure all of this functions. Yeah.
Hey, LE3, welcome
LE3
back.
with the Wooloo.
Wooloo is such
Kabir,
a
do you want to read Overthinking the Rainbow, or do you want me to?
Overthinking the Rainbow has 2 characters in it. It's got Clef and Gears,
Oh yeah, so it does.
so it is actually a dialogue. So we could have it narrated by our illustrious host here, and you and I could be characters in it.
That, or I could narrate it, and let's see. Really could go any other way. I don't mind
I like this-
narrating
I like-
personally.
I like this 3-player game. Let's hit it.
Sure.
I'll express it. Who wants to be Clef? Who wants to be Gears?
I'll be Gears.
Sounds like a. Oh, yep. I'll be Clef. I recognize the name Clef. Gears is the serious guy between the two, based on the dialogue I've read so far. So Clef gets to be cool. I've heard the name before, and I feel like he's a more famous Foundation doctor.
Yeah.
Both of these guys are in the main canon. Clef is normally a pretty wild. Clef himself claims that his voice sounds like a little bit like Rick Sanchez. Because I can't do a Rick Sanchez voice. Mine always comes out really Jewish when I'm trying to do Clef.
Gears is very almost over the top stoic.
Monotone.
Yeah, Gears is that.
He's often criticized as being a robot.
So yeah,
he's
like
not a
no
robot.
emotion.
He's just bald.
He's
all right.
He's not a robot, but he's got a chrome dome.
I could probably get into some of the inflections of Rick.
Hey,
Sure.
Lady Fairy J's back. Welcome back to the YouTube. Woo!
At least.
All right, are you guys ready to overthink this rainbow?
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right. After decades of service, there wasn't much that could faze Dr. Gears anymore. He'd adapted to his career as a Foundation researcher by becoming unusually stoic, to the point that many of his colleagues thought him to be completely emotionless, and possibly even some type of advanced robotic automaton. Didn't we just say this?
Yep.
And
it
if
is
that
stated
bothered
in the first
him,
paragraph.
I swear I didn't read it.
And if that bothered him, he gave no sign. He walked into his office, sat at his desk, booted up his computer, and logged into SkipNet. He was about to update the report on the recent CK reality shift that had so substantially altered SCP-049. Lol. Sorry, that was my fault, kind of. When something on the screen actually caused him to arch his eyebrow ever so slightly. The Foundation logo was filled in with a rainbow flag. Hold on. It was filled in with a rainbow flag, along with a brown and black stripe on top of it. Slightly surprised and mildly concerned, Gears reached down and pressed the intercom button on his desk.
Dr. Clef, please report to my office,
He said, staring quietly at the screen until his fellow researcher arrived.
What's up, Chuck?
Clef asked nonchalantly.
I'm afraid the Foundation's intranet may have been hacked.
Gears reported, gesturing towards the altered logo.
We'll need to have the maintenance technicians run a full diagnostic to determine the extent of the damage. Most likely, the perpetrators only wanted to download the database and left this as a calling card to mock us, but we'll have to check for malware and edited files regardless. Do you think it might have been that GOI that's opposed to recreational cannabis use because it impairs their ability at online gaming?
Have you been hitting the ganja gears?
Clef
We
asked in
haven't-
mild disbelief.
We
Sorry.
haven't been hacked. That log's just for Pride Month.
Pride Month?
Yeah. June is LGBTQPIA Pride Month, man.
LGBTQP.
Gay Pride, Gears. Gay Pride. The rainbow in the logo is to show our support for our non-heteronormative employees.
Gears looked at the screen in confusion, and then turned back to Clef.
We're a clandestine, international, non-government organization focused on the study and containment of paranormal phenomena. What does that have to do with gay rights?
Everything is political these days, Gears. If you're not for something, you're against it. Seriously, where have you been these last 30 years?
Working at Foundation Black Ops sites with little to no extraneous information about the outside world.
Gears replied, matter-of-factly.
Fair enough.
I admit I may be somewhat out of touch with current socio-political dynamics, but surely we do still retain a non-trivial number of culturally conservative staff members. Doesn't this logo risk upsetting them? Wouldn't it make more sense to remain neutral on this issue, as it does not directly affect Foundation operations?
There's no neutrality on stuff like this anymore.
Clef replied with a sad shake of his head.
We're living in a very polarized time. June's Pride Month, and if we don't openly support it, then we're against it by default. Being against it means we're on the alt-right side, which means we might as well put Rare Pepes over all our intranet instead.
What are rare
Nazi frogs, Gears. Nazi frogs.
Nazi frogs?
Nazi frogs! Memetics on the internet that turns the frickin' frogs Nazi!
Clef said, doing the best Alex Jones impression he could manage.
Now, if there's nothing further...
Actually, I am curious as to why there's a black and brown stripe at the top of the rainbow.
For inclusivity, it shows our support for people of color. Just because it's gay pride doesn't mean other injustices stop existing. We're all in this together, or some hippie crap like that.
But real rainbows aren't.
Well, real rainbows aren't inclusive enough anymore.
Sorry, Clef interjected.
It's not supposed to be a real rainbow, Gears. It's a symbol of support and solidarity for equality and inclusivity.
Gears took another careful look at the screen.
If that's the case, shouldn't there be a pink stripe for women's rights? That's also a fairly significant political movement at the moment, is it not?
Clef shrugged indifferently.
You gotta draw the line somewhere. There's only so many pixels inside the logo we can color.
I see.
Gears said, still sounding uncertain.
Dr. Clef, if I may be so bold, I am somewhat perplexed by how well you're taking this. You do, after all, own a mass stockpile of firearms and have offended virtually every woman you've ever come into prolonged contact with. I would honestly think you were the sort to view any form of political correctness as an infringement on your First Amendment rights.
As long as I got my Second Amendment rights, I don't need to worry about the rest. And Draven said that if I can't stop being such an alt-right troll all the time, then I'm not going to be invited to his and Talaran's wedding. I can't not be at that wedding, Gears. It would be embarrassing. All the big names will be at that wedding.
Yes, it will be an excellent opportunity for our enemies to terminate a large percentage of our senior staff in a single strike. There should probably be a designated survivor.
Gears remarked thoughtfully.
So, just to make sure I've got everything or clear, rather, we haven't been hacked. We're supportive of gay pride, and our logo is now an accurate but ethnically inclusive rainbow.
Yep. Happy Pride Month, Chuck.
Clef smiled, slapping him on the back and taking his leave of the office. Gears turned back to the computer, but his eyes lingered on the altered logo for a moment before he began typing.
Who would name a frog Pepe?
He asked himself quietly.
Nazis!
Came Clef's distant reply from the hallway.
I like this Dr. Clef. I feel like I understand his personality greatly after this experience.
We'll be seeing another article from him soon enough. He always enters the 1,000 contests, so hooray.
Coming
He's
around.
not allowed to consume an entire tin of Altoids in one sitting for a particular incident.
Oh, and hey guys, since a donation came in during that tale, we have now broken $350. Woo!
Hooray!
Yeah.
Thank
We're
you
only
so
now
much.
getting on to the people getting off of work and having their time to do this, so it's going to be fantastic.
Keep sharing Twitter things. We're going to spread the word and people are going to show up and we're going to make all the money and give it to the charity and they're going to be so happy. Yeah. Plans.
All right. Did we do... There was one earlier before I left hours ago that I'm not sure if we got to. Did we get to what lurks below? What lurks in the dark? Sorry.
I don't remember it, so
Yeah,
I
it showed
don't
up-
think we did.
Yeah, it showed up when we were getting all the content creators posting their stuff.
let's check it out.
Yeah,
What
it's-
lurks below?
What's the rat's
that a
nest
tail?
hub?
Oh,
It
rat's nest.
is- Yeah, it's a rat's. It's in the rat's nest hub from along the cannon hub as well. I don't know what SCP it might relate to or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a fake SCP fan. I don't know what's going on. Oh, this one! Yeah, I know who wrote this.
Yeah, it got posted earlier, and I don't know if we ever got to it.
What lurks in the dark, we mean?
Yeah, what lurks in the dark?
Yep.
Sweet. Oh, Halloween stuff. Yay. It's all
Proper
thematic.
Halloween.
All right, you guys
Do we
got
wanna-
this while I run the chat and stretch my legs a little bit?
Sure. Do you want to narrate, Gavir, or do you want me?
I can narrate and you can voice because it looks like there's dialogues from people.
Sure.
Yeah, there's an older man in them, old fatherly, a veteran of the Captain Shirley. You get to be Captain Shirley Bones, a veteran of the Skeleton War.
Captain Shirley Bones.
Yep.
It's going to take a while for me to find. Oh, it's all the orange text in the middle.
There's a bit of it. There's one where it's non-oranged, But yeah,
All right, I will try to follow along.
I think the center ones are just, I don't know whose dialogues those are. The ones that are really emphasized.
Right, yeah, the center justified or center aligned. It's not center justified.
Yeah. I can do the center line, but you can do the dialogue ones. It sounds like just a unseen narrator.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, shall we begin? All Hallows Eve, 2313. The Monsters Hollow. I chose to tread in the realm of monsters, not because I'm foolish, but because on any day except the Hallows Eve, undead hands clench the gate shut. Stark departed trees mark the threshold with a deep violet reeking of conqueror's glory. There are things in this place that man, the mortal, never laid eyes on. Always wondered why, and that curiosity lured me here. Were they afraid? Ages ago, when my family did their duty, they focused on the tenuous coils of securing, containing, and protecting. Back then, entering willingly into the realm of monsters was madness. Then, one day, we plunged a sword into our spirit to show the monsters that we would never be afraid of them. They taunted us, and they roamed in and reigned over the earth. We tried to restrain our fears. Now an ocean of rot plagues the monsters. Field upon field of rats fills the land between the horizons. Rats that suckle on the marrow and bone, and the ash and dust. On the rot they feast, the rot that fed the monsters. Now the rats feed. If not for the shrieks of rats, this calm might please me, knowing that the monsters are now gone. Behind me the gate remains wrenched open, though not for long as twilight approaches. When it does, maybe then I'll understand. Did you ever fear what lurked in the dark, or just the darkness as such? My imagination populated the dark with its own monsters. I was never afraid of the darkness itself. We once believed in a past defined by light and darkness. These are the only two realms worth evaluating, we thought. The separation between the two tantalized us. In time, when human creativity peaked, we came to believe, no, shades of gray define the soul's depths. For an entire age, that's how we define the classical world of ghouls and goblins. Shades of gray, sweeping down innumerable steps to the bottom of our minds. It never occurred to us that the shades of gray was a reflection of the horrors within. The monsters didn't operate that way. They never did. We projected our insecurities into the world. In truth, you can never understand the way monsters work. They're not us. You're just a child, my parents told me. A child that doesn't yet know what it means to be a monster. It's true that I'm young, but that doesn't mean I don't know what it's like. We wear costumes to mock them, and when we grow up, we mock the costumes. Mock? Not so. We wear mock costumes to scare them away. So then, what do you think happens when you grow up? I donned a costume tonight. The pretty princess one with the rhinestone-studded tiara and cascading pastel dress. I thought I'd grown out of it, but it seems it still fits. Well, perhaps it's a bit snug. It would have been perfect. It was, until the undergrowth gnawed it to ribbons. Now I scale this gnashing valley of consumption and rot where the rats dare not trek. It's here on the peak I spot a familiar figure. I make chase and stumble, grazing my knees. Up ahead the spidery dark twangs. Something ambles near, reins me in, and pulls me taut. It tries to startle me, but I know better. As a kid, whenever I felt a crushing emptiness, one of gripping, existential anguish, I conjured up false friends for company. Now, peering through the fuzz dark, I spot them for the first time in years. They've chosen tonight to make their debut. The darkness contorts, and I recognize my captor as Spooky Shirley, the skeleton. I knew him as Captain Shirleybones, a veteran of the Skeleton War. I think he was my grandpa once, the keeper of my ancestors' memory, with stone-cold wisdom beneath his bony carapace. I always took his puzzling expression as another silly jig to lighten my mood. Shirley, you're here! Did you visit to tell me one of your funny stories again? He sets me down.
Nay, I am here to remind you of vanishing sweetness in the world, of bitterness that crawls in from vessels of war. See, lassie, there was a time before bloodshed, before burial and lamentation, a time ye knew not of my presence within.
Nowadays, it's like I'm hugging you with my entire body. His jaw clatters, but he isn't making a joke.
I was meant to stay close within you forever, not just within you, but within all of my kin. Even now I show up in graves, only this time as a pale reminder.
It's a riddle. He doesn't elaborate. Next, my eyes fall on Samara, the apparition. In times I knew her as Samara the silhouette. She used to dance like one, a shadow in my periphery, a flicker in the candlelight. Now she struggles, shackled to the ground, not just by the misery of her past life, but also by chains. I try to dance as a shadow in her luminous form, the dance she taught me. Don't cry this time, Sammy. It's okay. You don't scare me anymore.
I'm cursed to always come back here, you know. I was too weak for many things when I was still alive. That's why you should fear me. You wouldn't want that same failure and disappointment on your soul. You hold too much potential.
How about you come with me and we can adventure together? Mourning over all sorts of things unseen, she weeps to me alone.
Oh, I can't join you. I'm too afraid these days. My fear stretches deep, see, through 1,000 lifetimes. Besides, if you take after me, you might come to believe that you were always the monster yourself.
She turns her back. At last I look over at Pumpkin Skull, the scarecrow with a pumpkin for a head. I used to play with him, calling him funny things like gourd guts and fruit face. He tended to the harvest that fed my family. I remember when you used to serve me, Mr. Harvester. Maybe, if you show me how you did it, I could tend to the harvest too.
I don't think there'll be another harvest. As the old times fell into rot, so have I, and so has your family. As will you, as will all things. Make the last of your time here the best of your time. Make all of your time the best.
Oh, you're just mopey because the crows came in and made a mess. Greenish, moldy pulp streams from the openings carved into his face.
I am the lifeblood of the past. Forget me, as all are forgotten. It will hurt less, I think, if you forget. It won't be easy. Well, it never is. If you can't learn to forget, you'll need to force yourself. I reckon that's the hardest part.
He ends with a croak. I step back and blink, and my friends disappear. On the horizon, dark clouds part. When we grow up, that's when we realize the ultimate truth. What's that? That we were monsters all along. The horizon holds a tired, red sun, and below the peaks it's a blackened, musty tarn. It's All Saints' morn, and the black gate to the monster's hollow has scraped shut for another year. I'm stuck here, but it was my choice to stay. I need to understand how the monsters live their deaths. I glanced down into the valley. Was this where the monsters had crawled from all those years ago? Or did we traverse down into this hole to find them for ourselves? Whatever the truth was, I know that the realm of monsters is everlasting, even if my home could not be. To be honest, it should not be. We had spent so much time running from the dark. We never realized that darkness is in the rift between each one of us and deep within ourselves. I think about my friends. My friends were the monsters all along, and they call to me. Should I answer? Would you?
Wonderful.
It's very bleak, dark.
Hey, Floppy's back.
Floppy!
Yeah, I didn't come to the realization that there were 3 different imaginary friends being spoken to. Sorry to put you through that, Rock.
Oh, no, it's fine. I love doing voices. I love acting. I love it.
Acting. Art.
Theater. With the E at the end instead of before the R. Theater.
Ellie,
Isn't that how
that
everyone spells it?
is. Ellie, I hope you know the first word in that story you've linked to us is. I got it pronounced right the first time, but still, anyone else that's gotta hurt.
No, I looked at it and I was like, oh, dimethyltryptamine. Yay!
Yeah. It's like, all right.
Thank goodness for all of that Grey's Anatomy I watched. All right, so let's. This is oh boy. Okay, so how many people we got in here? We have Stork's Head. We have Stork's Head. And we have Stork's Head. It's all Stork's Head.
Stork's Head all the way down.
Oh no.
And Fish Truck is hanging out in Get Vocal. Hey, Fish Truck.
Hello. Oh, Lord of Lapis showed up too. Hello, GI Truck. Hey guys, welcome to the Get Vocal side of the chat.
Yeah, there's an open spot for those who want to try their hand among our companionship.
LE3 suggested a Parawatch article, which probably good because a lot of those have that kind of creepypasta feel that everyone's talking about. So
I currently have that one pulled up and ready to go.
which one?
And yeah, it's a set of 3 email style notarizations, so we could actually each do one.
Oh, yes, that sounds good. It's called I Hope This Isn't Just a Dream.
Of course, Ellie plugs her own crap.
Nothing
Nothing wrong with that.
I say, if you show up to the show, you get to plug your crap. That is the number one reason for the authors from the wiki to come see the show, to plug their crap.
I've plugged 0 of my things. Let me pull up my author page till I find something.
I'm so amazed that I've gone this far without plugging my own crap. I'm on my own channel, and also I'm plugging a charity today. It's a charity today. You guys plug your crap. I'm here for your crap.
Just think about the optimistic side. It's just we haven't run out of other people submitting their quality work. You haven't had to resort to self-promotion, you know?
That is true. We have been real busy. Like, guys, I'm going to hold on one second before we start this because, like, I was just telling Katie over there while I was, like, stretching that this show has gone amazing today. Like, there's always been at least a guest. I have not been all lonely, and there's been stuff going on, and it's all been a really good show. And besides, like, a couple technical errors that we all handled like a boss, this has been amazing already. I'm very happy with how this has gone, and we're not even done yet. So, yay. Thank you, guys. All of you.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Yeah, what's IHP?
I don't think we've done any of IHP's work,
I don't believe we have.
which he has a lot. So there's plenty to pull from. I'm trying to think of what IHP is one of the main contributors to the Sloths Pit Cannon, S&C Plastics.
I am not too familiar. I tend to find more intrigue in SCPs that are their own self-contained stories. Like right now, I'm taking glances at 1983 and 2935.
In addition to doing S&C Plastics, he's also done Black Autumn for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So you might have seen some of that come through. Amityville Triumph is something that he's released very recently.
I read more SCP pages than Tales.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't recall the last time I read a tale. I think I read the one where it was Kane versus 682. That was the last tale I went out of my own way to go and look at.
I'm liking how many tails we've attacked today because tails need more love.
They really do. All right.
All right, I'll take the first one of these because you just tag teamed that last one.
Sure.
All right.
Heck yeah.
Stork's Head, September 13th, 2007. It's a Tuesday. It's 0600 hours, 13 minutes, 52 seconds. Number 647-623-49. Dimethyltryptamine, or DMT for short, is one of the strongest hallucinogens in the world. Being a Schedule 1 drug in the US, it's fairly hard to come by. But God, are some people desperate to get their hands on it. Why? Many people say that when you smoke or inject it, it's like being thrown into an alternate reality. Intense visual and auditory hallucinations combined with an altered sense of space and time that lasts for only about 5 minutes, before its users can stretch on for entire lifetimes. For some, it's like a near-death experience. But back when I was in high school, my brother died while on it. He was in a van with some of his dumb stoner friends, smoking the rumored magic drug as they drove along. They ended up crashing that night, and the paramedics said that they said they weren't sure what killed him first, the impact or the fire afterwards. They also mentioned the drug, mostly due to the fact the cops were getting involved and they planned on interrogating the survivors. And that small note led to my extensive research of DMT. I just want to know how he felt when he died. But little did I know I'd opened a rabbit hole beyond my understanding. In the early 70s, Terrence McKenna and his brother set off to the Amazon basin to research hallucinogens. The shamans there used a medicine called ayahuasca as a means to emotionally heal, speak with the dead, and see the future for hundreds of years. While the effects of the DMT you normally buy in the States only last for a short time, ayahuasca is brewed from the leaves of plants containing the drug, and a single brew can result in up to 14 hours of hallucinations. The brothers, intrigued by this, dosed up on ayahuasca for a whole 11 days. At the end of their binge, they claim to have come in contact with a raging universe of active intelligence that is transhuman, hyperdimensional, and extremely alien. They name these otherworldly beings self-transforming machine elves. They seem to be a common link in all DMT hallucinations. In fact, Terrence spoke of the elves in one of their lectures. I sank to the floor. I experienced this hallucination of tumbling forward into these fractal geometric spaces made of light, and then I found myself in the equivalent of the Pope's private chapel, and there were insect elf machines proffering strange little tablets with a strange writing on them. And I was aghast, completely appalled, because in a matter of seconds, my entire expectation of the nature of the world was just being shredded in front of me. I've never actually gotten over it. These self-transforming machine elf creatures were speaking a colored language which condensed into rotating machines that were like Fabergé eggs, but crafted out of luminescent superconducting ceramics and liquid crystal gels. All of this stuff was so weird and so alien and so un-Englishable that it was a complete shock. I mean, the literal turning inside out of my intellectual universe. This went on for 2-3 minutes. The situation of discontinuous, orthogonal dimensions to reality just engulfing me. As I came out of it and the room reassembled itself, I said, I can't believe it. It's impossible. To call that a drug is ridiculous. That just means that you don't have a word for it, and so you putter around and you come across this sloppy concept that something goes into your body and there's a change. It's not like that. It's like being struck by noetic lightning. Notably, all of those who encountered these beings claim they traveled to an alternate dimension. But the most interesting part overall, researchers speculate that DMT is not only found as a natural chemical in certain plants, though. Some believe our brains release it when we're dreaming.
Do you want number 2?
Stork's Head, September 13th, 2007, Tuesday, 06/18/24. I've been investigating into DMT and these machine elves myself. Firstly, oh god, I lost my place. Firstly, I tried to take a drug that is said to increase the chances of you remembering your dreams. Huperzine A was damn expensive, $20 a bottle, but at least not illegal like DMT. No luck though. It was interesting, but I wasn't able to. I even ended up having a lucid dream with this handy trick where you look at a clock twice. I shouted into the sky, "I want to see the machine elves!" Nothing responded. At this point, I was getting a bit frustrated, to say the least. So, against my better judgment, I got into contact with one of my old marijuana dealer pals who managed to find a guy selling DMT. It cost me a lot of money. He said it was in high demand, so I pawned my phone off. No use in having one if there's a computer at home, anyways. I went home afterwards and injected the drug into my shoulder. The effects were pretty much immediate. I was thrust into a world of cascading colors and symmetrical shapes. It's impossible to describe with words. It truly was otherworldly. Then I saw it. A machine elf looming above me with long, spiraling horns. "What are you?" I asked. It replied in a ruby Fabergé egg-looking object, which floated down and phased through me. "I don't understand. Can you speak English? What are you doing here?" Nothing. I could feel a strange fragileness in my heart as I screamed, "Answer me!" A blast of scarlet egg shot out towards me as its two symmetrical arms raised up slowly. And for a moment, through all the strange collapsing sounds and spiraling shapes and colors and synthesis, I could hear a single quiet whisper. "Wake up." My eyes shot open to our dull world in a cold sweat as I looked over to my clock. Only a minute had passed. Nothing. 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 I had learned almost nothing of worth. If anything, it just gave me more questions, driving me deeper into the rabbit hole of this magical drug. Had they cast me out for a reason? I had no way to know. The DMT I had bought was the last of it that the dealer had. I tried to find some more, I really did. Everyone known for selling it was either out of stock or rotting in prison. I needed to know. For some odd reason, I just had to. Had the elf done something to me? I'm not sure. But shortly after this, I came across another interesting piece of data. Not only is DMT produced when we are dreaming, but also during birth and death.
Stork's Head, September 13th, 2007, 6:26:41. We're all familiar with dreams. There's no way to describe them overall. They can be intense dystopias to mundane little adventures. But how are they connected to these strange DMT trips? It's simple, really. When humans are under the influence of DMT, they're able to see the inner workings of the world, the machine elves. They keep the world together and write our destinies. Everything that happens is because of them. But when we dream, we no longer exist in this world. Our brains create a new, temporary universe to exist within. Or, in other words, we become like those machine elves. We construct our own world, however, that is never remembered, and we place ourselves into it. This can be further proved by the concept of lucid dreaming, where we can consciously control what happens. However, DMT also appears in our brains during birth and death. Why? Because when we are born, a new conscience is formed and inserted into the world. And when we die, that conscience is freed. We're able to create our own universe, our own Earth. Can you imagine what that would be like? The power you could have? The life you could create for yourself? It would be perfect. I just have to experience it for myself. But how? There's still so much to learn, so much to do, so much to think about. Could it be that this world is but a dream, an illusion? That we're the same beings as those elves, albeit on a lower level of power? That we're going to die, only to find that we created the universe we had been living in for such a long time? I'm not sure. Of course, nobody can be sure. But when I look back on my experiences, when I had met the machine elf who struck me down, demanding that I wake up, I heard something else in its voice. I heard it clearer than anything else I've ever heard in my entire life. The elf's voice, it was that of my brothers. Well, there's only one way to answer all of my burning questions. I hope that you're all real, but I have to figure it out. I have to know if I can meet him again. Do with the above information whatever you will, but my curiosity has been chipping away at my sanity ever since my brother took his final dose of DMT so many years ago. Nothing else matters. Goodbye, Parawatch. You won't be seeing from me again. Did this guy go and overdose on DMT to become a machine elf? I think that's what this is implying.
That's one way to summarize it. Yeah.
He's like, he's going to do something. He's either going to kill himself to see if the amount of DMT he puts himself on makes him ascend to machine elf status, like a good metal knife ear, or he's just going to die.
Metal knife ear?
Knife ear is a common slur for elves in Warhammer and other fantasy.
Oh,
things.
okay. That's why I don't get it.
So when I hear elf, I'm like, metallic knife ear.
Oh, wait.
mechanical
No,
elf.
I get it. I get it now. There's a hyphen in there. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes much more sense.
The hyphen is optional. Optional, but fun.
Optional, but fun.
All right. So in the meantime, we got 2 readings from the chat in here. We got Amityville Triumph and we got Halloween at S&C Plastics.
We've done a couple of stories. Do we want to do an SCP this time?
Oh wow, Amityville Triumph's real long. SC Plastics is kind of long.
Well,
But yeah, going in a document wouldn't be a bad idea for 2 long tales again.
yeah. The Amityville Triumph. It's just it's double spaced. That's why it looks so long. It's semi-long, yeah. Not nearly as long as 610 that we did earlier today.
True, and I mean, hell, we do still have, in fact, a little over 6 hours to go, so we have the time. We have the time.
Does the YouTube chat? Because we've been looking at the Get Vocal.
I'm picking on the YouTube a little. Dr. Warpstar has suggested Daleport. I don't know what Daleport is. Does anyone know what Daleport is?
Daleport SC. Shows up. It's only it's a town.
1936, SCP-1936.
Okay.
The whole town of Daleport is, and it's got a couple of expedition logs that have characters in them.
Oh, it's
and
rather
other
Cthulhu-y.
documents.
Looks like.
When I saw the X-ray, I thought Enderman. So there is a couple of them with different characters, so it is slightly long-ish. So if we wanted to do that,
I will throw one of my own works into the ring. Just for something in the queue. It's about, I think it's only about 1,000 words. It's probably less. I've been writing. Oh yeah, it's 969 words. That's one video log. We'll do. We can do Daleport first, of course.
Okay, here's a good question. Do any of these think that? Do we think we can get Daleport in 30 minutes for the shift? Think that'll fill us out?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Daleport could definitely be a 15-20 minute read.
You think so? Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does kind of look like Slenderman, huh?
I mean, the various documents together could be up to 30 minutes, depending on how long we spend on them. But only one of them's a back and forth dialogue, it looks like.
Oh yeah, the whole thing is about 2,559 words, so that's easily about 20 minutes at most, I think.
Yeah, let's
There's only
let's
one dialogue.
Then let's hit 1936. We can kind of separate it out by sections a little bit. Looking at what we got here, probably someone takes like opening to the addendums, and then probably like someone gets 2 of these addendums, someone gets 3 of these addendums. Sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
And there are 4 characters total in the unmanned expedition log, attempted expedition log.
All right.
We can figure that out when we get there.
As we go. All right.
I can take the first chunk of documentation.
Hit it. Let's do.
Cool.
We do.
Item number SCP-1936. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1936 is to be contained behind a 2-meter electrical fence, which is to be patrolled by security elements. The area contained is roughly circular, 1 kilometer in diameter. Security cameras are to be installed to cover areas not currently being patrolled. Expeditions into SCP-1936 are to be escorted by an armed element as specified by Area 37's Security Director. Personnel are not to enter spatially anomalous locations without specific authorization, with the conditions of such authorization dependent on recent anomalous activity within SCP-1936. Area 37 is to be set up on the outskirts of the town to support these operations and to provide facilities for the initial testing and classification of objects recovered from SCP-1936. Once classified, these objects are to be sent to the appropriate site for long-term storage and study. Dead biological samples recovered from SCP-1936 are to be kept under strict quarantine and taken to Area 37. Summary incineration may be performed if the samples are deemed hazardous. In the event that any live biological samples are found in SCP-1936, investigating personnel are to remove themselves from the area, and Mobile Task Force Zeta-29, codename Mad Mountaineers, are to be sent in to recover and bring it into containment. Description: SCP-1936 is the New England town of Daleport. In the year 1997, the town fell victim to what is presumed to be a highly destructive event or a series of highly destructive events over the course of several days. During this time, the Foundation was unable to enter the town or observe any events that occurred therein due to the presence of SCP-1936 TAC-1, a gaseous area centered around on Daleport that covered the whole town. For further information, see Attempted Expedition 1936. This anomaly is no longer present at SCP-1936, having dissipated a week and a half after its appearance. Dimensions of the remaining buildings have become significantly altered from the original plans, and a large number of them have become topologically inconsistent. Investigations report spatial anomalies, including rooms that become smaller when they are entered, eventually preventing the occupants from moving. Doors that lead to different points at different times of the day, and corridors that, despite leading to only one location, also lead to several different locations. Due to their properties, description of some of these spatial anomalies is inordinately difficult. No survivors from the anomalous events which affected Daleport have been found within the town proper, but the remains of a large number of Daleport citizens have been recovered. Cause of death varies, but it appears that a large number committed suicide. In many cases, the remains of these citizens demonstrate anomalous properties presumed to be a result of the anomalous event. Some of these remains have included a smear of entrails and viscera capable of picking up audio transmissions from up to 6 miles away. Sound is created through vibration of tissues. Subject was found with a small plant that gave out a small consistent flame. A torso embedded in a wall. Slight movement of the torso was visible when investigating personnel spoke. Blood continually manifests 15 centimeters above the torso. The body of an older male with both eyes gouged out. A steady stream of ashes pours from the body's eye sockets, nose, mouth, and ears without any apparent source. Several human corpses discovered in a row on the main street. Flesh, skin, and bone had been removed from a circular portion of their foreheads. Skin and brain tissue surrounding the wound had undergone severe charring. At 1942 each day, several floating torsos manifest outside the Johnson Public Library, simulating the motions of running, heading southwest along Market Road. 3 minutes after manifesting, the torsos have attempted to leave the road and fade out. And the body of a young female that floats steadily upwards when subject to any applied force, regardless of the force's direction, currently suspended 57 meters from the ground. Did you want me to read this, or do you want to take it from here?
Currently adjusting microphone height, so I would appreciate if next, not me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a quick thing because TAC 3 is the one that has the dialogue. It's got a lot.
All
of
right, I'll just. I can keep reading the expedition log up until the first collapsible. Then.
Yeah, I'll take it when it hits collapsible.
Sounds good. Attempted expedition log 1936. Due to the unknown status of Daleport's residents, manned and unmanned expeditions were made into SCP-1936 TAC-1 to determine the safety of entering SCP-1936 TAC-1. Ascertain manned and unmanned expeditions were made in... Okay. Ascertain the nature of SCP-1936-1 and its effects, and to facilitate possible recovery of civilians. These expeditions took place over the course of several days as resources arrived on location.
Attempted expedition log 1936 TAC 1. Procedure. Following the this is an unmanned ground expedition. Following the detainment of relevant witnesses and the establishment of a containment perimeter, an unmanned ground vehicle designated UGV-1 was sent into 1936 TAC-1. UGV-1 was equipped with atmospheric sampling sensors, closed and open circuit biological samples, including several Rattus norvegicus brown rat instances. Video and audio recording equipment were also included. Results. UGV-1 found 1936 TAC-1 to be composed of sulfur, nitrogen, and carbon oxides. The concentration was found to be at a level where irritation occurs, but would not present a lethal hazard. Biological samples were unaffected in any anomalous manner. Video recordings showed a smooth wasteland-like landscape, starting at 100 meters into 1936 TAC-1 and extending up to 2 kilometers from the edge of 1936 TAC-1. At this range, radio communication with UGV-1 became degraded, and UGV-1 was returned to the perimeter. Please note, UGVs used by the Foundation typically have a range of 70 kilometers in flat terrain. Expedition Log 1936 TAC-2, Manned Ground Expedition. 2 D-Class, D-512 and 513, were sent into SCP-1936 TAC-1 aboard UGV-2, a human transport variant of the UGV. UGV-2 was equipped with a higher wattage radio transmitter than that of UGV-1. 512 and 513 wore Level A gas-tight hazmat protective clothing and biotelemetry sensors during the expedition. 512 and 513 were initially taken 1 kilometer from SCP-1936 TAC-1's boundary. 513 was ordered to de-suit. 513 had previously been briefed on this and complied promptly. 513 reported no ill effects from exposure to 1936 TAC-1. Medical telemetry showed 513 had slight difficulty breathing, similar to breathing smog. 512 and 513 continually reported flat featureless terrain while in SCP-1936 TAC-1. Unacceptable level of radio interference began at 3 kilometers from 1936 TAC-1's boundary, and UGV-2 was returned to 1936 TAC-1's edge. Medical examinations performed upon their return on 512 and 513 showed they had not been abnormally affected during the expedition. This third one is an armed manned ground expedition and is mostly a dialogue between people.
One of these if you want to take the other.
Yeah,
I'm assuming Sherm is still setting up.
There's Kilo Actual.
Back in action.
There is CNC Command Center, which only has one word. There's Kilo Actual, Bravo Actual, Alpha Actual, and a few unknowns that are probably just Cthulhuan things, because I see the language relay from Unknown 1.
So, Does anyone have any specific? Well, the actuals don't come in after their first lines, but how about each of us take an unknown? Each of us takes an alpha.
Sounds good.
An actual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Charlie and unknown 2.
I can take Bravo and sure, I'll spout some Cthulhu. I'll take unknown 1.
I will
Haha!
take. All right, so that leaves Kilo and Alpha. I'll take those 2. Kilo, Alpha, and I guess does that leave me unknown 3?
Yes.
Kilo, Alpha, unknown 3.
All right.
So,
I'll do. So I'm Charlie, but I'll do CNC as well. So foreword. The following audio log is a transcription of an attempted expedition by a mechanized infantry platoon, Kilo. The platoon was assigned 6 Piranha LAV-5 vehicles designated Alpha through Foxtrot with mounted environmental analysis equipment. Log begins 3 kilometers into 1936 TAC 1. Kilo actual, this is Mike. Requesting update on your status, over.
Mike, this is Kilo Actual. We're still seeing the terrain is flat. SCP 1936-1 doesn't seem to have changed since we went in.
Kilo Actual, this is Bravo Actual. We can see upwards incline ahead.
This is Alpha Actual. We aren't seeing any incline. Check your Mark 1s over there, Bravo.
Alpha, we're going down the incline right now.
Yeah, we see it. Following you down.
Kilo Platoon, this is Charlie Actual. Anyone else seeing the sky out there? We're getting a lot of red and blue patterns. Seem to be screwing up the radio a little bit.
Yeah.
CNC, I think we're getting a bit of They said, amen. May the heretic burn in the pit. As in, I fucking hate him so much, I hope he dies a slow, painful death in a burning hole. At this point, two-way communication with the expedition team was lost, with CNC only able to receive messages. Sounds of a firefight and wildly varying descriptions of the attacking forces are heard. After approximately 30 minutes, the following message is received.
There, I am Silver, the Shivering Mist. I am the gift currently covering the town of Daleport. While traversing my... Your men have been attacked. Some have become but the rest are in safe hands. Evil has been summoned to this town by society of... The worst shall be contained within me by Vulcan, but the town and its people will not remain unaffected. A great battle shall rage, and a victor must be decided. In time, those who can stop the eye will be here in time and see the... Please do not send any more soldiers into me, as I cannot keep them from the shung. When all through before the victors, I shall leave, and the shung will be yours again. I hope you shall survive it.
Closing statement. Unmanned observations continue to operate, but were unable to reach the town of Daleport. No manned operations were sent into SCP-1936 TAC 1 prior to its dissipation. So, there's recovered materials, recovered video footage, cultist documentation, and additional video footage. They're not the... longest one is the recovered video footage.
Short, long, longish, and short. Short, long, longest, and short. So how about I take the first 2, someone takes the next 2.
Sure.
All right, so now we are, took it to, where am I coming to? Because I've scrolled down. I don't think Mr. Sticky. Closing statement, okay. Recovered materials, 1936. A large number of documents were retrieved from SCP-1936. These are assumed to have been written by the town's previous inhabitants. Open recovered written documents. Document recovered from laptop in a residence in the southeastern quadrant of SCP-1936. Dear Diary, today Mr. Sticky's arm came out of the closet instead of the window. It was even longer than ever. It was still smoky when I touched it, so my hand hurts. I told Mr. Sticky I didn't want any of his gross food today, and he got mad. He said it was vital to the inhibition of the lava. I'm really hungry, so I ate the gross food, even though it was green and squirmy. I don't like Mr. Sticky that much. The following phrase was found in multiple locations, predominantly in public toilets and stitched into the internal organs of mutated Daleport residents. I am sorry that I could not save you. Signed, Pangloss. Document recovered from a store in the southwestern quadrant of SCP-1936. Running out of canned fruit, but I guess that's the least of my worries. There was some god-awful screaming and shit out there tonight. Screaming started off human, think it was lovely from next door. Don't know what it sounded like by the end. Never heard anything that sounded like that. Thought it was something trying to get in a while ago. It was Reverend Hawshore walking past my window again. Still ranting about God knows what. Managed to get a glimpse of him through the window. Wish I hadn't. He had too many spaces in him. Gotta leave. I think I hear one of the big guys is coming this way. I can hear drum outs. I am the voice, and the voice is me. Security cameras and other video devices continued to acquire footage while the SCP-1936-1 was present. Open recovered video footage. Video recovered from a ruined gas station surveillance camera on the outskirts of SCP-1936. Start time is 21 hours 39 minutes. The cashier of the establishment is handing a customer a plastic bag. The window next to the two individuals smashes, and an unknown organism enters through the broken window. Its appearance is unclear as its center is surrounded by multiple tentacle-like appendages. It is roughly the same height as an adult human. The customer attempts to flee. The organism lashes out at the customer with a tentacle. The customer is decapitated, and due to the impact of the tentacle, the head is propelled off camera. The cashier hides behind the counter, but the organism moves itself over the counter and out of sight, presumably having landed on them. Blood and viscera consistently splatter on the walls above the counter for the next 30 seconds. What appears to be an elderly human wearing a bowler hat and waistcoat enters the establishment. The footage becomes mildly distorted when the individual enters the shot, and increases greatly when it becomes apparent that instead of a face, the individual has a triangle branded into their skin. The first organism moves back onto the counter, appearing to be wary of the individual. The distortion of the footage increases as several multi-jointed appendages burst from various points on the individual's body. The first organism and the individual engage in hostilities. The organism appears to be in a large degree of pain when touched by the individual and attempts to retreat out the store. The individual throws the organism out of the store through a wall, creating a large hole in it. The ceiling is seen bulging downwards when the footage ends. Video recovered from security cameras outside the Johnson Public Library, facing Market Street. Start time is 1900 hours 40 minutes. A speeding car is seen entering frame from the left, traveling along Main Street. The driver appears to lose control over the vehicle and crashes into a lamppost outside the library. As the lamppost is broken, it splits and buckles as a partially translucent spectral entity emerges from within the lamppost. The car's occupants leave the vehicle and begin running southwest along the street away from the entity. The entity gives chase, floating through the air. This goes on for several minutes, with the entity gaining little ground. Eventually, the entity stops giving chase and undergoes several changes in coloration. A blue-colored shockwave of unknown composition is then released from the entity and travels after the fleeing people. The shockwave passes over the people as they attempt to turn off the road, which causes the people to become transparent and fade. The following footage was pieced together from several partially surviving sources, centered around the entrance to the town hall. The exterior town hall is shown to have sustained damage, with the roof in a partial state of collapse. The front doors to the building are missing, replaced with a circular phenomenon glowing the blue by the end of the spectrum. The convoy of vehicles appears traveling toward the town hall at speed. The convoy consists of dozens of civilian cars and trucks, as well as Foundation vehicles matching those sent out on the manned exploration of SCP-1936-1. A small number of humaniform robotic entities armed with firearms of unknown make and manufacture are seen running alongside the vehicles. As the vehicles approach the town hall, the civilians and the Foundation personnel disembark. The civilians move toward the circular phenomenon at the apparent urging of the robotic entities and the Foundation personnel. A triradially symmetric organism approximately 3 meters tall and covering various technological items is seen exiting the lead Foundation vehicle. The organism interacts with one of the devices and appears to undergo a series of controlled convulsions for several seconds. As the first civilians reach the circular phenomenon, a fractal-shaped sheet of motile skin jumps from the roof of the hall towards the crowd. Due to its low mass and high drag, this takes several seconds, during which the robots and the Foundation personnel open fire on the skin sheet, doing little damage. As the sheet reaches the ground, it leaps towards the nearest civilian and wraps itself around the civilian's head. The triradially symmetric organism runs to the two, rips the skin sheet off the civilian, throws it to the ground, and activates a flamethrower, severely charring the skin sheet and rendering it non-ambulatory. The organism then indicates to several nearby stunned civilians to enter the circular phenomenon. They do so, causing them to disappear from view. The robotic entities and the Foundation personnel allow all civilians to enter, before collapsing inside the circular phenomenon themselves. When only the radial organism remains, it burns the phrase, "Pangloss grants you sanctuary," into the stonework above the town hall's entrance. The circular phenomenon remains in place as the organism leaves. The manifestation at Area 37 of 94 live civilians and of almost all the missing Foundation personnel in the weeks following SCP-1936-1's disappearance is believed to be related to the above events. Individuals recovered so far have suffered memory loss regarding the events in Daleport, leading to no new information being gathered during debrief. While analyzing recovered documents to determine the cause of 1936-1's arrival, numerous references were made to a cult named the Victory Society.
The following note was discovered in the jacket pocket of a recovered body. The head and left arm of the corpse had swollen to 3 times the regular size. The corpse is believed to be that of James Curtis, who is a member of a local religious organization known as the Victory Society. It reads, "What we need: 2 trout, a bottle of milk, virginal blood," where am I even meant to get that, "to be mixed with the milk. He who walks beneath dreams is into that sort of thing, apparently. Assorted souls, willingly sold." Alliteration is big deal for that which waits inside the horizon. At least 200 beetles. Lots of ice. If Hoshor thinks I'm doing the sculpture for this shivering misty thingy, he's got another thing coming. 2 dead bodies have to have been dead for at least a year. Some human eyes. The blind one's meant to have thousands of sockets. I don't think a few eyes are going to do it for him, but oh well! Marky and Dan are getting the rest of the stuff. Laura too, I think. Hoshor just sits at home with his books, though. The fuck? The following passage was written on the inside cover of a charred book, outside the church at the center of Daleport. The border of the mural is encompassed by sizzlers, the shivering mist that will descend upon the world during the time of awakening. The mist is all-encompassing, and shall act as a barrier to those wishing to stop the awakening, as well as confine the great trinity of potential victors. The 3 at the center of the mural are the Great Victor of Flames, the Great Victor of Frost, and the Great Victor of the Storm. They rain down destruction upon one another, with their true names inscribed in unreadable, unknowable runes. Around the 3 are visions of the great battle that contain the majority of those that shall come to this realm, with Dejur, the dark god of lampposts, the blind one illuminating the way for his followers, who leave tributes upon crooked light posts. Dejlip manifests as the flies pouring out of the mouth of his beloved and Becurse to assist in the conflict any way he can, while Ine, the trepanner, frees his followers from the skulls of their oppressors. The shredded cabbage of misfortune will destroy those who oppose the vegetable monarchy. Zin, herald of Marp, commands the army of Lepidoptera to carry those away who sleep with the flowers beneath the silver ash in the dream attics of Inamatium. The voice of ages, though not visible, is omnipresent, represented by the yellow runes bearing his name hidden throughout the mural. Finally, at the bottom, the minor minions and deities pledge their allegiance to the 3 victors. Those who pledge their allegiance to the Great Victor of Flames are tinted orange, the Great Victor of Frost violet, and the Great Victor of Storms green. Many, such as he who walks beneath dreams, his face a mere triangle, remain unaligned and are painted in black, for they are opposed to none, and yet opposed to all. The dark-deered Max is shown around the edges, forever excluded by the rest. Sheogorath remains, ruling his kingdom of two faces before he himself brings its downfall, only to be stopped by a great prisoner of the Dragon King. 20 goats stuck together, making a goat ball, spin round and round all the way to goat hell. The skeletons forever fight their final war. The conflicts of these minor deities will have little impact on who the great victor of this battle shall be.
And breathe for a moment. We are at the 5-minute mark to the closing of this shift. And so we are going to go ahead and summarize here, hold our spot on the several documents were recovered line, and make our way to the next room. Make sense?
Yep.
So
All right, what
for
line are
everybody
we
who
at?
is new to this, several documents were recovered. It's right underneath the thing he just finished, above the victor. And so for those of you who are
Above the
outside
picture of the
know,
victor.
what's going to happen right now is if you are in YouTube chat, this video is going to end. You're going to go to my channel page, and the new video will begin, so you can join it momentarily. If you are in the Get Vocal chat, we are going to leave this room, which is called Shift 9. You will find a room that is called Shift 10. You will join that, and we will resume. And so Get Vocal, we're going to Shift 10. YouTube, you will have your way to get a new video once that starts up. And everybody, remember to donate to the GoFundMe. We are currently at $360 in donations. So we are moving on up. Yes. On the way out. See you guys in shift number 10. We are 25% away from the end of this evening. We are 75% done. Holy damn.